Good morning, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Top Tarot Trumps. And today I'm going to share with you a bunch of death cards and just talk about this particular archetype as it is portrayed in many, many ways through different creators' imaginations, impressions, experience with death. And I'm going to talk about my own experience with death, and I don't know, just let this kind of ramble here. There's just so much to share. It is also, Arya, a very rainy, soft, rainy summer morning on the West Coast. And hello, welcome, Amelia. For those of you that don't know Amelia, I shared a video of hers on my community page, and she is an extraordinarily crafty and creative soul, and I would highly recommend you check out her channel. Amelia is here, and I was so impressed with. I have seen a lot of deck modification videos, but nothing like you attempted. So, wow, just wow. Hello, Saskia, Kalispara. All right, so let us begin. And where to begin? I think I would like. One of the things that stands for me is that the deck you pick up in hand to read with, that particular archetype of death will be the exact words you need to use at that particular time. This is a huge archetype. It is so fundamental to our existence, and it is not talked about enough. It is something that we tend to, have a few quick words and then turn the other way. And there are some cultures where it is celebrated and honored, and it's very much as special as life itself. And if you are doing this work, if you are reading the tarot, I would really encourage you to expand. If you have never done, some sort of a journey with death. And hopefully I will have time to share with you some of my own experiences, including hospice work. And it sort of is it is very much an archetype that I am working with in this lifetime. So extraordinary, the number of people who have died, and I am the one that's there to take care of everything at the end. It's just been incredible how I chose this particular path. But anyway, let's get to the cards. Center bottom is the Stunning Tarot. And just above that is the Sun and Moon. Stunning Sun and Moon. So there are a number of tarot decks that focus on the rebirth aspect of death. And in the Stunning Tarot, we see the snake shedding its skin, and it's emerging kind of ferociously, fearlessly entering new life. In the Sun and Moon, we have the archetype of the phoenix, but there's also an angel there as well too. And so there's this idea of transformation and birth through fire, and I get a fire energy in both of these cards, and that's really interesting because in the classical planet system, Golden Dawn, this is a Mars Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And fearlessly facing this transformation, fearlessly facing death. And I think what's missing in most contemporary cards, and I want to talk to the beauty of all of these modern depictions of death, but what is missing is the quick energy. The Scythe is so quick. And if you read, I saw that, Amelia, at the end of your video, that you were considering modding this deck, and that's why you purchased this deck. Yeah, it's a beautiful card in Tarot of the Abyss. So what's missing is this idea of the Scythe, which is a fundamental symbol that is associated with death. And if you think about the Lenormand Scythe card and the importance of the directionality and just the swiftness of the action, also, it can't be undone. And that is something that can be really difficult to swallow. So when we're looking at a tarot card, this is Pagan Otherworlds, and there's something really, I love that the 10 arrows on each side form the wings of death. And this death also has a snake, I believe. I'm just looking, or is it a black sash? It is a black sash. It's not a snake. It looks like a snake. It looks like the skeleton could be emerging from a snake, but it's a black sash. What was I saying? That this is quick. It can't be undone. And that something is eradicated. And we have this tendency to want to hang on to stuff and not embrace the beauty of transformation. And this is, you know, we can't know what's around the next corner until we completely and utterly release and let something die. And you could look at this in any number of ways, depending on your level of spirituality, what you believe or don't believe. But it's so true. You know, it's like I'm dreaming. Let's say you have a project at work that you are dreaming of building, and you have all of this energy that you're putting into its creation, and yet there is another piece of work that hangs on, and you drag it along like a chain because it pays the bills. Well, until you break that chain, the other one can't flourish. And this is a basic principle that if there is birth, there is death. There must be death. You know, something can't be born without something else dying. It's like a balancing of nature and harmony. And when we have a death card such as this one, we know that what is on the left side is what is being cut, and what is behind to the right or beside has the potential to grow. And that's one of the reasons why if you want to hear more about this, please tune in, listen to Masha. The playlist for this series is listed below, but you can go to her channel and just watch the last Her Death episode. It's really good. So I really appreciate a more traditional kind of death card. And what is being cut? There's also this association with the harvest and the scythe, because the scythe is a tool to cut, to see what is being harvested. And so what is being cut may also have the potential to be used in a new way. Let's go here to Arya's comment. Yes, it can't be undone. That's why I sometimes have little patience with people who jump to afterlife fantasies before the body is even cold. And you know, if you jump into those kinds of dreams and wishes, it just tells me that you haven't read enough either, because through a number of wise ones, different spiritual traditions, you will know that reincarnation does not happen like that. There is a journey, there is a process. There are several, in yoga, we call them lokas. There's different stages to go through before the body comes back, before reincarnation happens. And you can read about this in different ways. There's lots of doctors, neuroscientists who've talked about NDEs and even experienced them themselves and stuff. So yeah, death is death, and we need to be in the process of letting go. Okay. Okay. There's just so much to talk about with this card. I honestly don't know where to possibly begin, other than just use these cards as jumping off points for conversation. So this is the Pooh Tarot. It's so adorable, this little deck. It's a fairly new deck to my library. And you see here a little butterfly or moth emerging from a pupa. And so we're seeing here a very similar sort of energy to the phoenix and the snake. So I think what I'm going to do is group these cards into sort of aspects of death. Okay. This is the Brady Tarot. This is a stunning depiction of death. We have new life growing from the human skull that is above ground. And yet, below ground, we have several layers of, and I can read to you the names of the beings. The jaws here are Tyrannosaurus Rex jaws. And then this particular, these bones are from another extinct creature that perhaps died, became extinct due to man. It doesn't really matter what the animal is. It's one of the prehistoric beings that no longer exists. And so we're seeing these layers of cycles. And this is another example in that it has eradicated something. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone forever. Now, the energy of the dinosaur perhaps lives in the birds. And this particular beast perhaps lives in contemporary tigers and other wild cats. But there is something that is lost and gone. Energy will always transform and come back in some way. Energy never goes away. It is only transformed. But as we know it, it's done, right? It's done and it's over. And I think this is it's a lovely depiction of cycles. This is the Wildwood Tarot, and there is, you can still see a little bit of fur and meat on the bone of the reindeer, and the raven or the crow is picking the reindeer skull. There's this again, it's like this ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We will return to the earth, and our meat will feed another being, and this cycle of life. And so why do we cling? Why do we hold on? We see the moon, which is also about quick transformation. The moon never hangs around very long. The corvids too are also guardians, right? Guardians that take us to the other side. There's lots of mythology and stories about symbols of death and crows in different cultures. I think this is also a really stunning card. This is Wildwood Tarot. And when I look at a card such as these two, so this is Vendour Tarot, this is Le Tarot au Amour étrange, and you can see the, or imagine those circles as planets. You can see the energy of transformation. Now, this is a little bit like in the Brady Tarot, where we do see plants emerging from the skull as well too. Life will be, and this reminds me of a story. When I was living in Whistler and hiking, there was a certain part of the forest where they were, what do you call it when they go in and they sort of clear for forest fire prevention? And it had really been quite extreme, the amount of clearing that was done. And it really saddened me because it was a part of the forest I hiked every day. And so one day I took some crystals and I put them into a stump. I felt like I was in, it was an old series of movies, Little Fairies, took place in Australia. Where the humans came in with their big bulldozers and they raped the land, and the little fairies somehow recreated life. I forget what it was called. It was just a brilliant movie. There was like a few of them. And so I put my crystals in this stump, and I watched this stump over months and months. And I took a few photographs actually, and I watched this stump come alive and grow. And it grew faster than things around it. And it was really a beautiful point of mindfulness for me, and focusing on, change, death, all of these things. So yeah, I see this light here as not the rising of a soul, but it's just it's the energy of the cycle of life, the energy of change. Yes. Thank you, Aria. Fern Gully. It was a brilliant series of movies. Oh my goodness. Loved it. Yeah. Okay. So we have this kind of card. Let's just talk about the Devian Moon, shall we? And I'm sure that some of the Earth-centric decks, there must also be some other decks that have this kind of macabre take on death and the theme of humans. And I suppose in a way the Brady Tarot kind of brings that in. But we're looking here at a baby horse, who are full of toxic waste. The earth is dying. You see the factory in the background. There is a ship on the ocean that is about to sink. We have just ruined. The land is a wasteland, and this little baby horse is attempting to return to the belly of the mother, but the belly of the mother is already full with the next life. And I look at this and I think, nature will always find a way. Nature will always find a way. And, sometimes I sit back and, I feel really blessed that in this lifetime, I've never, I just even hesitate saying this, but so right now where I live, fires have ravaged a beautiful mountain town called Jasper. And this is a place that is popular with tourism. It's not overbuilt. It was this beautiful town in the mountains, very right on the BC Alberta border in Canada. And you just see pictures of historic buildings, everything being ravaged by fire. Kind of reminds me of the Lahaina fire that happened not so long ago on Maui, where it just kind of takes your breath away, how nature will revolt. Nature will claim the energy of the land back. And when I look at a card like this, it just reminds me of the power of nature, and nature will, the Gaia will, the world, the earth will. And I remember Jonathan Daly, who lives on Maui. He posted something. He posted, so in Lahaina, if you've ever been to Maui, there used to be this beautiful area that protected the town of Lahaina. It was a water, like a big lake, and on the center of the lake, I believe there was, that's where the king and the royal family lived, and these connected waters protected the town of Lahaina from Haleakala, or from Pelle, or from the fire, or from the dry lands. And so there was this wet land between the town and the dry lands. Well, that no longer is there. It was filled in to become, I don't know, a softball field and residential housing and things. So man changed what former man knew was absolutely needed to protect and to keep and to preserve the sacredness of the area. And I just think this is a reminder. This card is a reminder of, just how we screw up. And so, if we make these mistakes, we need to face death, and we will always have an opportunity to start again. But it's not going to be easy, So I'm sure you can find other decks that have this kind of message. And so here, we really, truly need to let go. Need to let go of if I think of the example of Lahaina, right? The commercial, the oversaturation of the commercial nature that Lahaina became. It just sort of lost that historic Hawaiian feel, I mean, it was such a beautiful place, but no, it wasn't Pele who took away the protective waters. It was man. Man filled it in. And it so surprises me because I've had this, I feel like indigenous cultures know so much about the balancing of elements, and it just pains me. And I know through generations and generations, it gets lost and diluted, and there's only a small group of people that try to retain the old ways. But yeah, it's so, anyway. Pele responded to man's negligence, right? This card just kind of melts my heart. We see lots of different symbols from various cultures of death. You see the prayer flags in the dark down at the bottom, the butterflies, the marigolds. I have to look up. I think there's lanterns also around the sugar skull in the center. In Kolkata. The majority of the temples are dedicated to Kali, and Masha spoke of Kali. Kind of warmed my heart because she chose a death card that had Kali on the card. And I was at Kalighat, I believe. It was so hot. It was so crowded. And I remember waiting. You wait in line. Oh my God, the lines at these temples to go through to the inner sanctuary, the inner sanctum. And there were these boys sort of hopping up barefoot, right? Just hopping up on these ledges, and they were hanging garlands of marigolds, like to create a wall of marigolds. It was the most beautiful thing, and it was just so, it just transformed the energy of being in that hot, long, slow lineup to being something else, these garlands of marigolds. And it was, I don't know if there was coming up to a major puja or festival. I don't think this was a daily thing, but it could be. It's a very busy temple. But it was really impressionable. And as I journeyed through India, that was my first trip to India, I remember just being in various places and starting to pay attention to the marigolds and their just their symbology and their energy. And when I see this card, it brings back the power of Kali and death and transformation and all that deity represents. And I remember this particular temple going into from outside, and then you go in through the first little bit, and honest to God, it's like exiting or entering a subway in Tokyo at rush hour. You literally fear for your life. It was, I couldn't believe it. You had to go through this narrow gate to get into the inner sanctum, and people like bodies just, oh my God, it was really something. Talk about going through the eye of the needle. And then you get into the inner sanctum, and it's cool. It's cool and it's dark. It's kind of hot because there's a lot of people there, and it is India after all. But like a major transformation going from the light into the dark. And yeah, so when I see this card, I see the marigolds, I think about the honoring of death. And the thing about all these Kali temples is that people like honor the goddess as this tremendous power of it's such like I want to go back to this card, right? It's a huge transformation. Like this is the death of the ego. This is the slaying of your demons, quite literally. It's mind-blowing transformation. I remember my daughter in one of these temples, she was shaking so badly. We had to find a place for her to lie down. The energy is just, you can feel it in the air. It's just dripping in the air. And so to be in the experience of something like that is really, it's really kind of, yeah, it's life transforming. There are a few decks that have cards such as the Marielle, where you see this particular one is Morta, the crone, the cutter of the thread of life, giving your soul liberation. You see other figures from mythology that cut the threads. And I like that symbology again, because we need to cut the thread or cut the cord. We can't have that tether hanging on and continue to grow. You know, you need to let go once and for all. Cut the damn cord. And I think sometimes we need to see a card like this. It's really, really hard to deliver that kind of message when you see a pretty card like this from the textured tarot. And sometimes we need to be gentle in delivering this message. If death is raw, if the querent is in the midst of death of a loved one, then I think a more gentle sort of image can be very helpful. Even like the Pooh tarot, right? It's very, it gives a different sort of energy. And we need to hold space for people to be in the process of death. But I think the point here is that we need to be in the process of death and facing it and being in that journey, not running away from it, and not letting the doctors deal with it or the hospice workers, but to be present with the journey of letting go. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you say that. I don't ever remember reading about the cause of the fire, but I think just what I was sharing about the land resetting itself, anyway, I think you've heard my message for today. So I'm going to pick my top 5 death cards. From this collection of cards. Ooh, one more. So yesterday I kind of rested, and I edged 2 decks, and this is the John Bauer, and I was just looking at this card, and I think sometimes too it can be beautifully portrayed as a portal, and the question is, are you ready to step through? The portal is open. And you don't know what's in the abyss. I really like this card, the guardians on either side of the door. Actually, maybe I might include that one. I wasn't planning on doing that, but let's see. Okay. I want to honor this card in so many ways. And Pagan Otherworlds, I think, is a brilliant representation of many decks that portray death in this way. The swiftness, the more of a traditional depiction. I like this card a lot, this one from the Wildwood. It just really speaks to the cycles of life. And so I don't know, like I would need to choose between one of these two. And it's funny, the white skull on top almost looks like the moon. Oh my goodness, that's really hard. I'm just going to put that one there. Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, I just want to mention this card. This is from the Low Rider Dachshund Tarot. And if you need a good grief deck, this is a brilliant deck for working through grief. Death of a loved one, death of a pet. It's just really something. This is very touching card. Yeah. That's such a good card. And you know, there is one, I no longer have this deck because I can't really work with these contemporary reality decks, but in Poppy Palin's Everyday Enchanted Tarot, there is a death card where you see the grandmother and children, and then you see the energy of loved ones in spirit in the back. And I think that's a really beautiful card. So I have those 5. I think I can go with that. Oh, well, I was going to decide between the Brady and the Wildwood. I think I'm going to go with the Wildwood. Okay, so there you go. my top 5 death cards. Very spontaneously, John Bauer, Wildwood, and that wasn't on my list either, Herb Crafters, Pagan Otherworlds, and the Marielle. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and I will be back tomorrow, and I just need to decide which direction I am going to go. My plan is to carry on this series and do all 78 cards, and I do have a list that I've started to create for all 78 cards, and I want to respect Masha, who has started this series, and not get ahead of where she is at. So right now I've caught up with this tarot tag, and so I think tomorrow I will begin the minor arcana, and then once Masha has done her 14th arcanum, then I will do my 14th arcanum, and I will fit in the majors in between the minors as I go through. I think that's my plan. Okay? So, thanks for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will be back with Tarot Avatara at noon today for those of you that are following along in that deep dive. Take good care. Namaste. Thanks, Arya.